Visit us online at burningrubberradio.com for recipes from the NASCAR chef, John Dix, and more great content.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, that dang old internet, man, you just go on there and point and click, 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 click. It's real easy, man.
Now back to more Burning Rubber Radio.
Oh, man. Hill, Hemric, and Hamlin all in the news this week, along with Clay Millican. Rick, where racing has some good news this week. We've got a whole bunch of stuff to cover for you in the next 15 to 30 minutes here on this week's Burning Rubber Radio. It's producer Wayne alongside Andrew DeLay. The NASCAR chef John Dix, he's off doing the real world working thing again this week. So, well, you know what's funny, Andy? We've been begging for Lowe's to be a sponsor now for 17 years. Maybe this is our end. We just say, hey, John, why don't you go talk to him, see if he'll sponsor?
Yeah.
Of course, we all know we're full of hot air when it comes to that one, there, folks. But we're gonna get right on into the news here this week. Of course, NASCAR at Martinsville this past weekend here, and Andy, we got to talk about the Craftsman Truck Series right off the bat. Daniel Hemric in that number 19 truck. What a finish to that race!
What a finish it was, but Corey Heim had everybody's asses beat for the whole race up until towards the end when he got into a wreck. The second week in a row, this poor kid has been out there running up front, showing everybody their way around the track, and just can't close it in the end for one reason or the other.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. 2024 was Heim time, but 2025 is... It seems like Heim time got turned down a little bit.
Yeah, it's Heim time for most of the race except at the end.
Pretty much. That's why I say Heim time got turned down just a couple of pegs there. It's party time for the majority of the race, and then we get down to like 5 to go, and all of a sudden it's like, where's the party?
Hey, and also, buddy, I'll get into more detail about that, folks, if you check out Seriously Fast Motorsports. Of course, you'll see my article over there this week, and like it was last week, finally on time. But anyway, I'll be a little more in-depth on everything going on in the Craftsman Truck Series.
Well, and see, Andy, the more you sit and talk about that, I'm thinking it's Seriously Fast Motorsports. If you're not early, you're already late.
Seriously.
Again, folks, seriouslyfastmotorsports.com. Go check those guys out and check out Andy's article over there every single week about the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series here. Moving along now, though, into the world of the NASCAR Xfinity Series here, and I had a chance to actually sit down. I had a break this weekend from doing all the fun stuff I do with lightning fast transportation, and I had a chance to watch a couple of laps of the Xfinity race. And I'm not going to lie, that race was a bit of a shit show from the get-go.
Buddy, it was, but there were spots in it that I was like, because I was at work listening to the thing in my cruiser, and I was like jumping out of my seat because our boy, Patrick Staropoli, he was running in the top 10 for a while there.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. I was really happy to see that. And even then, you know, for a rookie debuting in the first ever NASCAR Xfinity Series race, and you know, somebody with Patrick's credentials coming home with a top 20 finish on your debut run,
yes,
that's pretty damn good in my opinion.
You ain't kidding. And he got through that shit show at the end. And, of course, he was running right there in 10th and 11th and got shuffled back to 15th. It doesn't matter. He was there. Everyone saw him up in the top 15.
Yep.
And Sam Hunt Racing Equipment. That's the same car that Jeffrey Earnhardt drives and when he's out there. So good job, Patrick. We love you. Burning rubber, baby.
Yes, sir. And, you know, it just continues to prove that, you know, people say that there are some of these underfunded teams out there that don't deserve to be on the racetrack. The fact of the matter is they might be underfunded. They might not have all of the same parts, credentials, crew members, you know, or quality of crew members that some of these bigger teams do. But you look at teams like Sam Hunt Racing. You've got drivers like Jeffrey. You've got drivers like Patrick. Both of them putting those cars up in the front where they need to be.
That's right, buddy. So it's always good to see Burning Rubber Radio Army folks out there. You know, we got our own Earnhardt, Bobby Dale Earnhardt. We've got our Jeremy Taylor, man. He's out there turning wrenches into Hemric shops. So, folks, if you're out there, click that follow button on Facebook, and we'll keep you up to date along with the NASCAR Outcasts over on Facebook on the insider stuff that's going on in NASCAR.
And what was the word going around, Andy? You were telling me that I guess you called me a meathead or something on the last episode with the gas and go over the weekend, and Floyd Updegrove had to call you out publicly and be like, "No, you said hamhead."
Yeah, no, he said you were an asshole, not a meathead.
Well, like, the thing of the matter is, me and Floyd have this long-standing friend rivalry, so to speak. So it's more like hey there, asshole.
Yeah, I guess. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, moving on here. NASCAR Cup Series news that we got to touch on here. And before we get into the winner of the race, we've got to go into post-race tech, Andy. And
yeah,
it breaks my heart, too, because he had a great run this past weekend in Martinsville, and that being the number 43 of Erik Jones, and disqualified from his finishing position after not being able to meet the minimum weight requirement and officially scored in 38th place.
Yeah, you know, you can't. The old days of Darrell Waltrip opening up the little latch and all of the BBs of lead falling out onto the track are gone, folks.
Yep. You can't really do that much anymore.
Nope.
And so, I mean, it really sucks for Erik Jones because he had a damn good run going this past weekend. So, a lot of really good stuff there for Erik Jones in the 43. But sad to say, 38th place overall, no points, and that's really going to take a hit into their championship run because they've had a decent attempt this year so far in the first handful of races of the season. But we do, you know, speaking of guys that almost seem to be a little cursed, Andy, and this is one guy we got to talk about here, the guy that won the race this past weekend of the Cookout 400, and that being one Denny Hamlin.
That's right.
This is his 6th victory at Martinsville. But the reason I say that he was almost a little cursed there for a while is up until this past Sunday, he has not won at Martinsville in 10 years.
That's hard to believe, too, because he is the Martinsville master. Usually, he's always up front threatening to win. But, man, this weekend he spanked everyone, 246 laps led.
Oh, yeah.
You're not touching them.
Oh, yeah. And then what even blew my mind is when he got out of the car there in the makeshift victory lane right there in front of the start-finish line, the crowd was actually cheering for him.
Yeah, usually they're throwing bottles and booing the hell out of them.
Right, they're booing the hell out of them usually. So to see that change, that was actually kind of cool. I'm not going to lie. I'm not a Hamlin fan by any stretch, but I will say that was pretty cool to see the fans, you know, respecting that win from Denny Hamlin this past weekend. And, you know, once again, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give him his props. He's starting to build on me a little bit here, Andy, and that being Bubba Wallace.
Heck yeah.
Third place finish.
Hard.
He
was up front. Yes.
He was up front, led, I think it was 47 laps, I think is what was led in the race this past weekend in the Cookout 400. Came home third place. It was a 1-2-3 Toyota finish with JGR and 2311 all together, side by side there.
That's right.
And so, you know, again, Bubba's starting to grow on me a little bit. Maybe he's finally gotten that boot in the ass from Michael Jordan that it was long overdue and said, look, get your shit together or get out.
I agree. He's definitely maturing into a decent driver.
Finally, but I will give credit where credit is due. And again, folks, I know you know, everybody who has listened to this show religiously knows that for the longest time I was not a Bubba Wallace guy. And by any stretch of the imagination, I couldn't even stand to even utter his name for a while. But this season, he is starting to prove to me a little bit that he has something going for him. Now, I just want to see that stick. If that sticks and he can start doing better consistently like he has been doing this season, he will actually earn a place of respect in my book.
Well, he's got the right equipment.
He does. It's JGR equipment with 2311, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. Other NASCAR news, Andy, and this actually broke today, matter of fact. So when folks are listening to this in video on demand and audio on demand, March 31st, 2025, Steve Phelps, Andy, got himself a little bit of a promotion this morning. Have you heard?
Kinda. Yeah, the chairman.
Commissioner.
Not chairman, a commissioner. What the hell is that? There's been no such thing before.
Right. So based on the way this article reads here, this newly created role for Steve Phelps will see him oversee all aspects of NASCAR's business interest, including the International Motorsports Association and all 15 NASCAR owned or operated tracks. And additionally, on top of that, Steve O'Donnell, who, again, has been a long-time industry leader. Personally, I don't think he's been a leader. I've had my questions about Steve Phelps and O'Donnell for many years. But they say he's, obviously the way the press release came out, was an industry leader and current chief operating officer, will succeed Phelps now and become the critical role of NASCAR president, with day-to-day leadership of all three of the national series, as well as NASCAR commercial, media, and track operations, as well as its 4 international series and multiple local and grassroots properties. Both roles are effective immediately, so they started today, March 31st, 2025, and will all be based out of Daytona, Florida.
Oh, well, I guess he's officially the HMFIC, if you know what that is.
Yep, those who understand not anagrams. What am I thinking of? What's the? I can't think of the word I'm thinking of. But those who understand initials, you know exactly what we're talking about. And then, but now the other cool part here with Phelps, Andy, and I did not know this until reading the article this morning, is that this is his 20th year in NASCAR.
Okay.
And so, who knows? We'll have to see if Steve Phelps can do some good as far as the commish of NASCAR.
Definitely.
And moving on along here, last couple bits of news that we can talk about this weekend, Andy. The Winter Nationals were over at the In-N-Out Dragway in Pomona, California. And you know how I said Rick Ware had some good news, Andy?
Okay, yeah.
Rick Ware's team got himself a Wally this weekend.
Oh, good deal, man.
So Clay Millican powered that dragster, that Top Fuel dragster, to a win over, of all people, Smoke.
Really?
Yeah. So Millican defeated Tony Stewart with an impressive 0.38 .038, so 38 ten-thousandths of a second reaction time to take his 8th career Top Fuel win in the Mission Foods Drag Racing Series. And if I remember correctly, let me see if I can find where they had the timing and scoring chart here, because they both actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think they both blew up in that race here. Let's see. Tony
While
Stewart.
you're looking here, I can tell you some Smoke news other than that from the weekend. Watching Cletus McFarland trying to hard park the Spark, if you've ever seen that before, where he tries to, e-brake his Spark into a parking spot. Well, Tony Stewart was down here running some practice laps at the Freedom Factory here in Bradenton, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And Smoke went over there and was talking with Cletus. And Cletus had him hard park the Spark, and you should go see that. It's on the Burning Rubber Radio Facebook page, folks. I got it up there. But Tony said right to Cletus's face, he said, "You know what? I got some news." And he says, "I'm running Indy this year." Now, Indy 500? Or you're running, is there a NHRA event in Indy? I don't know.
No, there's typically not an NHRA event in Indy this year, or at any point in time. Now, granted, a lot of the home bases are based out of Indiana, as far as like Indiana or Indianapolis and Brownsburg, Indiana. As far as I'm aware, I don't believe
he
there's
said
an NHRA
Indy.
event.
So folks, go over there, look at that video, comment, and let us know. Is he talking? Are we going to see Smoke here in the next month running to pole day for the Indy 500.
I would be curious to see. I would be curious to see it.
All right, but you heard it first right here on Burning Rubber Radio because we told you to go listen to Cletus.
Yeah, exactly. And but back to the NHRA news here. So I did find that timing and scoring here. Millican went 4.273 seconds at 189.71 miles per hour over Tony Stewart. Now, granted, you're thinking Top Fuel. Usually they're doing about 150 miles an hour faster than that. Like I said, both cars actually blew up shortly after the start, so they were both barely just edging it along to get down the track strip.
Seeing who they're like in their seat like you are in your car trying to make it to the gas station when they're running out of gas. Come on, baby! Get to that part and start finish line.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much.
Oh, my God.
And but some other big winners on the weekend, this past weekend at the Winter Nationals over at Pomona. Jack Beckman in funny car for, of all faces, John Force Racing gets the Wally, and Greg Anderson in Pro Stock also won the third of 20 races in the 2025 season at Pomona. So some really good stuff all the way around here. And looking at Beckman's run here, Andy, for the John Force Racing stable, his car, let's see, where was his timing and scoring? They hide the timing and scoring in the article. Here we go. 4.015 at 302.88 miles per hour. And that was his win to knock off Daniel Wilkerson in the funny car franchise, or the funny car division for
I have a
weekend.
question.
What's that?
Did Gage Herrera win again this weekend?
Let's see. Pro Stock Motorcycles. I'm looking. I don't think they ran this weekend. It was just Pro Stocks. Yeah, it would have just been.
Curious.
So, and that's the funny thing when it comes to the NHRA is while they have those multiple different divisions, Top Fuel, Funny Car, Pro Stock Motorcycles, all that stuff, certain divisions only run at certain tracks.
Yeah, okay, that's why I was curious. I didn't know. I didn't hear his name. Usually you hear his name every time. We have never had Gage on our show.
We need to try and get him on for a Wednesday Fast Lap, I think.
All right, I'll be picking up the phone and dialing up my NHRA contacts called the NASCAR chef, John Dix. John, get on the phone with the NHRA and get him over here.
Yeah, for sure, buddy. Well, with that said here, folks, we've got to wrap it out here for another week of Burning Rubber Radio, and we do hope
we're not.
Huh?
No, we didn't. You didn't talk about our pillow people.
Well, just because we're wrapping it out doesn't mean we're not going to go take a nap, silly.
Oh, okay.
Jesus. I swear, this guy just makes me want to do this number. And that too. And hey, I swear you kind of look like that weird person holding the hand up. It's like
whatever.
But either which way, folks, talk about a couple of the sponsors here as we wrap it out for the week here on Burning Rubber Radio. Got to go check out Drive Refine, Joey Coulter, and then, of course, like we talked about, Patrick Staropoli being a good friend of Joey's as well. So, yeah, go check out Drive Refine, driverefine.com. It is not just driver coaching, it's Drive Refine.
Refine.
You're late, Andy. But
whatever,
either way.
Man.
Like, folks, when you watch this video, you're like, 3, 2, 1. Like, he's like a second and a half late. Like, come on. But either way here, I think it's time for Andy to go take a nap. And speaking of that, MyPillow, visit mypillow.com/BRR and use the promo code BRR at checkout to get your entire order delivered for free. Again, that is mypillow.com/BRR and use the promo code BRR at checkout to get that order delivered for free. And they've also got a pretty big mega sale going on right now too, folks. So go and check everything out over there and see what kind of cool discounts you can get with the folks over at MyPillow. But for that being said, until I don't think we have a guest this week. I think, or actually, no, we got the band on Wednesday. I got to get, I gotta reply to them and get them them confirmed.
Get Gunshine on here, baby.
Get them confirmed for Wednesday. And but until the gas and go on Wednesday, folks. I'm producer Wayne. That's Andrew DeLay, and we will see you guys on the other side.
Burning rubber, baby.